Jeff Patterson, TSN 1040. Go ahead, Jeff. Okay, we'll move to Patrick Johnston, Post Media.
Hey, Jim. Thanks again for taking the time. Just wondering where you're at with qualifying arbors. You have a number of restricted free agents. Can you tell us at this point, whether that's imminent and perhaps who you're at?
So the QOs they're due on the 7th at 2 p.m. Pacific time. So we're talking about that, what we're doing with those right now, and we'll send them out here this next day or so. So we've sent some out already, and then there's some that we're going to get ready and get sent out here this next little while. So I'm not going to comment on the ones that we've sent out so far, but we're working through all that.
Gemma Karsten Smith, Canadian Press.
Hi, Jim. Can you talk a little bit about what the free agency marketplace is looking like right now? It seems from the outside that there's going to be a lot of big names out there, especially on the goalie front. What's it like for you? What does it look like from your perspective?
Well, we've spent a lot of time here this last 3 weeks contacting all the other teams and trying to get a feel, for kind of where the marketplace is at. We still have Jacob Markstrom that, we're still, talking about and trying to figure out. But if that's something that, we can't get done, then we're going to have to, look to the free agent market to try to fill that void, or, through a trade. So, we're keeping all of our options open. And, as we get through here, the draft here, the next couple days, we should know more, and then we'll go from there.
Ian McIntyre, Sportsnet.
Hi, Jim.
Hi, Ian.
In this market, everything, I guess every market is always tied to money, free agency, but we're in an extraordinary time. As a GM, how hard is it to figure out ways to add players without, while still being cap compliant? And is this a more difficult market than any you've dealt with because of that?
Yeah, but I think it's a problem that all the general managers have, Ian, with the pandemic going on right now and this flat cap for the next 2 or 3 years. I think all the teams are faced with the same problem. The thing that, I like about where we're at is I think we have some real good young players that are knocking on the door and ready to play here this next couple years, or even this next year, like Ole Ulevi. Looks like, he's ready to play. Jalen Chatfield's ready to play. Jack Rathbone, I think, we've signed him. He'll come to training camp. He could push for a position. Up front, we got Nils Hoglander that, is going to come to training camp and could maybe make the team. And then we got Podkolzin too, that, he's got another year playing in the KHL right now. He's playing some good hockey. He's getting the minutes now and stuff. So we have options that, as we try to, figure out how we're going to handle this flat cap going forward, with the understanding that we know after this year, we're going to have to re-sign Petey and Quinn Hughes, that, we're going to have money for them. And we got young players that are ready to come in and play and keep this whole thing moving forward.
Thomas Drance, The Athletic.
Jim, just want to turn to the draft. Obviously a different draft experience for you, considering you don't have a first round pick, but also a different draft experience for you, considering a remote draft, a teleconference draft, not being able to have your entire hockey operations staff in the same room as you go through it, or at least your amateur scouting staff. Can you walk us through sort of how some of that has impacted your draft prep and what it's been like to do, rehearsals in the war room and such?
Well, it's a lot like this, a lot of Zoom calls. So we have the communication and interaction with our scouts. Todd Harvey's flowing in here, so he's going to be with us at the draft table. But we have a Zoom call later on again with all of our guys to go over things for one last time to get ready for the draft. So it's everything's different now, but our guys have adjusted. We've had real good communication, and I feel we're ready for the draft here. Tomorrow and then on Thursday or Wednesday.
Jay Janauer, Global.
Jim, good morning. A guy who I thought had really started to carve a niche for himself in your lineup is somebody that we've forgotten about is Josh Levo. Where is Josh at? Can you detail the severity of his injury, and should we be concerned that Josh may not play hockey again? Where's he at, and where does he?
Oh, he's on the road to recovery. He's been, working out, skating every day. I talked to our doctors about him the other day. It looks like he's not that far off from going to be cleared to play. And he's a guy that we've talked about, depending on what happens here through free agency, that we'd like to, maybe sign and bring back. So I would say that, as far as his injury is concerned and his rehab, everything's going really good. And, he could be a guy that's in the mix for us to sign going forward.
Daniel Wagner, Glacier Media.
Hi, Jim. Just looking to the draft and looking at your prospect pool, it appears there are some areas of need in your prospect pool where you maybe need to have a few more players at center or at a certain place on defense. Generally at the draft in the first couple rounds, you're drafting the best player available, but since all your picks are coming third round and later, do you maybe look for positional need in those picks there?
Well, maybe at some point. I talked to Todd yesterday, and I think it's still important in the third round to try to make, when we're making that pick, let's take the best player available, or, if it's a goalie, let's take the best, player that we think can grow into a high side that can, be a real good player at the NHL level, even if it takes more time for that player to develop. And, maybe from the fifth round on, then, that's when we'll start concentrating on, when things are kind of all the same on positionally, trying to get some, more center icemen or a specific type of defenseman. But, our first couple picks, the third and fourth rounds, let's just pick the best player available that we think can grow into an NHL player.
Brendan Batchelor, Sportsnet 650.
Yeah, Jim, on that note, is it a priority for you to try and acquire a pick in the first two rounds here in the next 24 hours or so? And is that something you expect you might be able to do?
We've been working on that, Brendan, for the last couple weeks. And I got the rest of the day to continue to work on that. So we would like to, if possible. I think it'll be hard to trade into the first round, but if we could, add a second round pick, I think that would be really good for us. But, I don't know. I can't say for sure that's going to happen or not going to happen.
Ian McIntyre, Sportsnet.
Hey, Jim, I have a two-part question. So, Victoria, just bear with me a minute. Are you able to tell us anything about your discussions with Arizona?
No.
Okay.
No, I have discussions with lots of teams in the league, and I don't know, where it's going to end up going, but those are just conversations that we have to do our due diligence to find out, what's going on with certain players on certain teams.
Okay. You did mention a few minutes ago, as we all know, that you have Hughes and Pettersson coming up with the cap flat at least a couple of years and maybe beyond that. How careful do you have to be as an organization about bringing on potentially a big contract or big money for an extended term in this climate?
Well, we've done all that planning, and we would never, take on a contract that, we couldn't figure out how it's going to fit into our cap situation for next season. So, We've been working on that for 3 weeks, and Jonathan Wall's our capologist, and he's very good at what he does. And we've gone through 100 different scenarios. Well, what does it look if this guy's on the team or that guy's on the team? And he does the spreadsheets for us, and so we can review where we're at cap wise, for this year and for the next 2 years going out. So that all goes into the planning that we do on a team building standpoint. From with our young guys we have coming, they're going to be important guys because they're on their entry level deals, and if they can play and are can help us win, they're still at a reasonable cost. So they're very important for us here going forward, and but we still want to make sure that we surround these young players with the veteran players that they need to help support them, and so they can keep developing as players and keep winning and keep moving forward as a team.
Patrick Johnston, Post Media.
Again, Jim, every contract obviously has its cap hit, but also some have less money involved for the actual season. How much is that playing into your thinking in terms of planning for the year? Is it looking for contracts perhaps that have a little bit less cash due this season in how you're planning?
No, not necessarily. We're looking for players that we think are going to help us move forward. As we don't know yet what next year is going to look like, but if we can add players that we think can help us grow and get better as a team, we're going to continue to do that. And that's doesn't matter what their cash number is, what the cap number is. Like if it fits in our cap scenarios and we can make it work and it makes our team better, we're going to look to do it.
Rob Williams, Daily Hive.
Hey, Jim, the buyout window closes this week. Have you decided if you will be buying out any contracts to help with your salary cap situation?
Yeah, we haven't decided that, Rob. We have a few more days to decide on that, but we haven't decided if we're going to buy anybody out or not.
Jay Janauer, Global.
Jim, it really sounds like you guys are more inclined now to use your younger players. You mentioned Ulevi. You mentioned Chatfield, who we really didn't get to see, even though he was called up on a couple of occasions. Jack Rathbone, who we're all high on, Brogan Rafferty. Because of the market the way that it is, are you more inclined, Jim, to use them and to give them an honest chance because of the flat cap the next 2 to 3 years?
Well, I think they're important guys, and that's, we've talked about it internally about even next year. Getting these young guys up and playing, getting them experience, so when we get back to, fans in our building that, these players all had experience now and they can, help us, move forward with winning and, still keep us like with this flat cap. They're important guys now because, as they're starting out in their careers, they're still going to have a high side left in their game, where as they keep improving, they're going to keep getting better and better, and they'll make the team better. So, we got some different scenarios that we're looking at, but that's definitely one of them.
Daniel Wagner, Glacier Media.
Actually, just referring back to my previous question, looking at your prospect pool, with the trade of Tyler Madden, do you feel that center is an area where you need to maybe fill some gaps in your prospect pool, or are there other positions there where you feel there is a need within the pool itself?
Well, center is a position that, for whatever reason, the last 2 or 3 years, like all NHL teams seem like they're looking for center icemen. So, we would like to add, some centers to our mix if we could. But, we'll just see how the draft unfolds. And, there's some guys that we really like. And if, they're there for us in the mid rounds, then we'll pick them and, to try to build up our center prospect pool. But I think we got some depth on defense now. And then with Hoglander and Podkolzin and Cole Lind, we've got some guys, on our wings that we think are going to come in and play for us and be good players. So I guess the center ice is a position that if we can, keep trying to get some depth at that, we're going to look to do that.
Patrick Johnston.
Jim, some of your prospects, I think, might be candidates to go be loaned to Europe. Guy like Rathbone. Have you had any conversations about that kind of move?
Yeah, we've been working on that with some of our guys here. There's been some guys that the teams have reached out to us on, and so we try to help the agents work through that, and we'll continue to do that here this next couple of weeks going forward.
Gemma Karsten-Smith.
Hi, Jim. I know at the end of the year when we talked to guys like Chris Tanev and Tyler Toffoli, they said that part of the reason that they wanted to re-sign with the team is the young guys that you've got, the PDs and the Hughes. Do you find that the Canucks have become kind of a destination for players because of this young and upcoming talent?
Yeah, I think, that's something that we're seeing more and more of, free agents that are going to hit the market. And, I think, they see, the way we play, the way Travis coaches, we play an upbeat offensive style game. And, our young players are players that make other players around them better. So, I see more and more of that here this last couple of years that, I think teams or players, when they become free, they look at us and, they see we're heading in the right direction and they want to be part of our culture and our group moving forward.
Take a couple more. Next, we have Dan Rosen, NHL.com.
Yeah, Jim, thanks for doing this. You mentioned Jacob Markstrom in the goalie market before. Wonder if you could characterize any talks you're having with Markstrom, and is the focus still on him, or have you turned it to the free agency and potential trade market at that position in particular?
Yeah, I don't comment on where we're at in the negotiations. We still own his rights here till Friday, and we're going to continue to keep trying to work with his agent and see if there's some sort of a place where we can find common ground to do a deal. And then if we can't, then we'll look at our other options. But he would be obviously our first choice to try to figure out a way to bring him back.
And we'll take a final question from Thomas Strantz, The Athletic.
Jim, on the heels of performing the way your club did in the postseason, you do have a variety of other pending UFAs in Tyler Toffoli and Chris Tanev. Do you wait? How do you weight the fact that your club appears to be on the rise with some of the tough decisions that you face with those two, in addition to Markstrom, over the course of the next 5 days?
Well, I think, it's part of it is, this flat cap world that we're going to be living in going forward. And, we have to make tough decisions that, maybe, 6 months ago, if the cap would have gone up a little bit, we maybe didn't have to make those decisions. So it's just not our team going to make those decisions. It's going to be all teams throughout the whole league. So, but I think, having said that, we're in a good position because of the young players that, we've drafted and we've developed and we have coming through our system, because, that's a way that, as they're playing and as they're, going to play on our team and keep developing and keep getting better and better, and makes our team better. And, we control their costs for, through their first couple contracts, first contract at least.